Welcome to Bitcoin Live. I am Joe Bagonis, the content director of Bitcoin Live, and today I'm joined by one of the mentors on Bitcoin Live, Dean of CtheLight Trading. Dean, how are you today?
Excellent. How are you?
Excellent. I really appreciate you spending some time with me to tell people what you're going to be bringing to the platform. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
All right. I'm going to start off with a couple questions, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit about why you decided to become a trader. What do you enjoy about it?
Well, I'll probably give you the short form because if I go into the long form, it might take all day. So in my early 20s, I had a friend that was a little older than I am and was a bond trader at Merrill Lynch in New York. And he had moved back to Toronto, which is where I originally am from. I moved over to America in the late 80s, early 90s. And I sat in his office for probably 3 to 6 months, and I kind of got hooked on it, and he eventually became my mentor. So that's how I got into it. Now, what I enjoy about it is the fact that it can, weigh on your personality and control your psyche. And I like to have a challenge that I can work through and benefit from as a result.
No, I can say that's honestly very similar to why I got into it. And you bring up some interesting points there about the challenge of it. Do you think that trading is an easy skill to learn? And what's your approach to teaching someone who would join Bitcoin Live?
100% no, it's not easy. Technically speaking, you can learn a lot of the basics with some trial and error and develop a system that fits your personality. But then you have to fight your psyche after that point. And therefore, it becomes like a two-way street where you're fighting the original signals that you get from your system and what your subconscious and your mind is telling you. And that's the battle that most traders suffer from. And I've kind of, been able to combat that by becoming more robotic, for lack of better words, and just ignoring my emotions, for the most part. And I think that's part of what I'll bring to the table when it comes to Bitcoin Live. Well, there's two ways to look at it. I mean, initially you can learn the basics of technical / fundamental analysis, but in order to apply it, you have to have the psyche to be able to handle the trade once you put it on. I run into many traders that will put on a swing trade, for example, and then they'll switch over to a 10-minute chart and completely annihilate their trade plan and parameters as a result. And that's the struggle that I find most traders have difficulty grasping and getting, getting beyond that point of their trading life and to the point where they're making money.
Gotcha. So it is definitely about being consistent and sticking with a plan.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. So what do you want people to know about you and what you'll offer to Bitcoin Live?
Okay, well, I've been doing something similar to what I'll be doing on Bitcoin Live for the last 3 or 4 years now. So I'm going to be bringing much of the same, which will involve some video reviews and technical analysis of various coins, along with some longer term swing trade analysis that probably won't involve a lot of trading, but more holding of a particular coin. In addition to that, I'm going to bring some parameters that someone can use to balance their trade once they have it on in order to be able to withstand the ups and downs that can happen, on a day-to-day basis. In addition to that, I'm going to try to throw in some of my psyche training, which, what I just spoke about a little earlier, which I think is very valuable to a lot of the younger traders out there that haven't been through bull and bear markets, for example, in different instruments. Well, I was young once, so I can understand their excitement. It's a new world out there. It's just a whole new way of trading, and the instruments themselves are interesting. But for me, I kind of stick to the main coins or the more popular coins, the ones that have more volume and money thrown at them, because I don't see or understand the logic of the ones that are fractions of a penny. I'm all open to an idea, but I need to be able to trade it technically, and those things are very difficult to me because on a chart they look like little squibbles. They don't have any direction or trend or pattern that I can base a trade off of. I'm not a big fan of pumpers and dumpers. I'm not a penny stock guy. I've never liked any of that. So if that's what they're trying to do, I'm totally against it.
Gotcha. So, you say you stick with the big cryptocurrencies, the top ones. What excites you about cryptocurrency?
Well, the bottom line is, one day a couple years back, about almost 3 years now, I was looking at charts and somebody told me to look at some cryptos, and I was amazed by how similar the patterns and the technicals were to my futures trading. So as a result, I became interested, and that's where I got excited. I think, there's not a lot of, so far there hasn't been a lot of outside influence outside of technicals in the cryptos, and they trade very technically in my eyes, and therefore I think they're a nice clean instrument to trade. Now, there are some announcements that can happen from time to time from government and regulation agencies, but obviously we can't control that. That's a lot different than stocks. Have CEOs quit. For example, today somebody from Baidu quit and the stock is down a bunch, down 10% in one day. Stuff like that likely won't happen as often in cryptocurrencies. That's one of the reasons as a technical trader that excites me about crypto. I do. It's just like I said, it's basically the technical side of it. The technical trading side of it is very, very similar to futures for me. And I've noticed that, another one of the analysts, Peter Brandt, who is a futures trader, also sees a lot of the same stuff that I've been looking at as a result of all the years of futures trading that he's done. So I think it's an obvious comparison to anybody that's got some experience technically trading futures. As I mentioned previously, I'll be putting out videos with pretty much a detailed analysis of probably anywhere from 3 to 6 coins on an ongoing basis. And it'll involve entry, exits, and risk areas, along with what I expect short, mid, and long term. In addition to that, I'll be adding some chart postings with also the parameters that I mentioned in the video for perusal at a later time. I'll be available to answer any questions on occasion at Bitcoin Live for anybody that, I'll spend several days a week there and have people kind of fire questions at me, and I'll be able to answer live on the go. In addition to that, I'll kind of work with the other analysts in finding opportunities in some of the coins that we can kind of put out there with a positive view and then have a longer term perspective on trades. So that's kind of a general idea of what I'll do. Everything that I do evolves based on demand of what people want to see. To me, I'm going to be looking at trades that I'll be thinking of executing, and I'll be putting them out on video / chart posts.
Beautiful. It's something as me, the content director, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm a fan of all forms of trading. I really enjoy your work, so I think it's going to be a great opportunity to work together.
Yeah, definitely. And I have personally, I have Bitcoin and Ethereum and Litecoin and Ripple at this point in my own personal account, and I'm actively watching them. And we've been in and out of those trades a few times in the last couple of years, but it's an exciting environment for me as an older trader that kind of got bored of just sticking to 10 or 20 futures contracts. This gives me a wider spectrum and a horizon to look at, which in general gets me more motivated at this stage of my life. So it's pretty cool.
You just mentioned something. I'm going to go into the viewer Q&A. We had some questions submitted.
Yeah, you won't find me trading some of the obscure coins. For more or less, I stick to the Ripple and the Litecoin and Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash, Dash, and I'll look at some other ones. There was another one, Moreno. There's a few other ones I've traded, but I'll stick to the ones with heavier volume, maybe because I just feel more comfortable with the chart pattern as a, as a result of the volume. But I do trade those more than any others. As far as where to trade them, listen, everything's unregulated. It's not regulated, so therefore I find it difficult to have 100% confidence. I know one of the questions, involved that part of it, and I'll use whatever I think has an accurate trade setup, and Coinbase for longer term stuff. I know that's a boring conversation for the younger people who like to trade in and out, but you can use GDAX. There's a lot of things out there you can use, and I'm actually working with someone right now with a whole new trading software that I'll be bringing to Bitcoin Live, and I've yet to mention it to anyone, but it's going to be very, very accurate as far as entry and exits, and the market's going to, and you'll be able to switch from different markets quickly. It's going to be really cool. I've been working with a software engineer on it, so it should be exciting.
Well, I'm really excited now. I want to see this.
Absolutely.
All right, we got a couple more questions. Mr. Midas 18 asks, do you think that Bitcoin is going to zero, or is there a future for it?
Okay, I do not think it's going to zero, mainly because at this point there's so much money involved. There's a big push being seen from some banks more recently, and then Goldman Sachs. There's futures exchange on Bitcoin now, so therefore I think the legitimacy of it as an instrument has become more and more viable. So therefore, no, I do not think it's going to zero. Anything's possible as a trader. You learn to understand that possibility, that anything can happen, but it's becoming more and more realistic that this is going to be around for more than 6 months or a year. So I think it's going to be around for quite some time.
Okay. And the last question from Mark Hardwick. He asks, are there any black swans? I think you touched a little bit on this before. Any black swans you see for cryptos?
Actually, I have one that I've mentioned to a lot of the younger people that have an overwhelming desire to discuss crypto more than I may have. And what I see is, if the governments or the powers to be, i.e. the European Central Bank, the Federal Reserve, etc., decide that it's against their best interest that crypto becomes more viable than fiat currency or more used than fiat currency, then you'll see a big pushback. And I think that's the biggest thing that people should be aware of on a longer term fundamental basis, simply because they're not going to give up power without a fight.
Right. No, that's definitely, I would 100% agree with that. The entrenched interests are probably the biggest hurdle at the moment.
Absolutely. Exactly.
Dean, this is where I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm just gonna let people know right now on the screen, there's a link, get.bitcoin.live/Dean. Sign up, join in, look forward to his content. Follow him on Twitter at Canuck2USA. Follow Bitcoin Live at Bitcoin Live. Follow the rest of the mentors on the platform: Peter Brandt, Tone Bayes, Haejin Lee, Big Cheds, Bob Lucas. Dean, thanks again for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate it also. It's been a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right, my friend. We'll be in touch, and stay tuned for more great content on Bitcoin Live.